whenever we're looking to build out a marketing plan, specifically a social media marketing plan, I always make sure that we have the right North Star in our mind, okay? So when you talk about social media marketing, there has to be one key thing. You can have goals that are I want to generate new leads or get new business or have more people to my website. But the main North Star for social media should be to develop a qualified audience of potential consumers and fans. And so this is broad, but it's very, very specific, and it applies to anyone, whether it's an influencer or a business. If you can do a good job developing a qualified audience of potential consumers and fans, that means people that actually can impact your business, and you can actually turn them into fans, people who advocate and patron your business, we're on the right track right there. So if we start here, that's gonna guide all of our efforts moving forward. When you're talking about defining the goal, it's in the name. So how do I do that? Social media marketing. We have to make sure we're walking the line between the social and the marketing. So what I mean by that is we don't want it to be too salesy. If we put too much sales stuff on social, people can just scroll right by. You have essentially 2 to 3 seconds before someone passes your post by when they're scrolling through the feed. And people today are better than ever at detecting spam, oh, that's an ad, and people go by it immediately. So to defeat that, okay, that innate thing that people have going on, we want to make sure we're respecting the fact that when we're advertising to them, we're advertising to them on their leisure time. So it's not incumbent upon them to listen to your ad or your new listing or whatever you're promoting. We have to make sure we're actually providing value to them so that they give us their time, right? So we kind of have to walk that tightrope, and we want to make sure we're not doing too much of the social or making it to the point where people don't even realize it's a business, right? A really good example of this is I talk to a lot of real estate agents, and they're always posting about their kids and their dogs and their family and their updates, and that's great. But I talk to those people and they say, oh, I have tons of engagement, tons of followers. But then they also tell me, well, it's my neighbor who follows me and likes all my stuff just listed their house with someone else because they didn't even know I was a real estate agent. And so that's kind of the idea of going too far on the social side. And then the opposite side would be if you're too heavy on the marketing and sales. There's a lot of real estate agents, I use them as an example because it's a good one. Maybe they always talk about just sold or recently listed or new listing, and no one really cares about that stuff. Maybe someone wants to see what's going on in their neighborhood, but you have to kind of walk that rope of making sure that we're providing value and meeting them on their terms, and we're providing them the right kind of value, and we're being interesting and engaging. So basically what we're talking about when I talk about the social media marketing is your posting breakdown. What percent should be personal, what percent should be marketing. And there are a lot of things out there like the 80-20 rule or 80-90-10. I'm here to tell you there is no one set rule. It's all about your brand. You get to pick it, and it should be organic to you and authentic. That's the big keyword, authentic. So whatever feels right to you is what you should go with. I know a lot of people who are very successful on social media that are buttoned up and they won't do anything without a 3-piece suit on. And that's their brand, and that's okay, that's for them. Probably a little bit more boring, and they have kind of this very prim look to them, and that's good. They're going to attract the people who like that. But there's also the other side of people. So just yeah, exactly. So that's really what it comes down to, is just making sure whatever you choose, it's authentic, because that's going to be sustainable. If you have to pretend, it's going to be really hard to do that long term on social. You got to be yourself. So the one algorithm or thing that you should know is, at the end of the day, the amount of value that you're able to provide your audience over time is going to be an exact proportion to the amount of attention you get. That's likes, shares, video views. So if you don't like the amount of views you're getting or shares or engagement, the only thing you have to worry about is going back to value. Am I providing the right audience, the right amount of value? And if I'm not getting that attention, do better. Do better at giving more information that they care about. Rethink about who your target audience is and what they really care about. So how do I do that? Okay. Start with your target audience. So I created this in 2017, this presentation, and I think there was right around 3 billion people on social media. That is well over 5 billion now. So I just left that up there because I like that. And when I wrote the recap, it said 4.5, now it's over 5 billion. So there are a lot of people on social media, So what we need to do is refine that. We can't hit everyone. Classic example that I use is a chiropractor. They say a lot of times, like, anyone with a spine is a good client for me. That's fine, maybe a good client, but not a good audience, not a good target audience. We want to refine that and say, well, do you work more with high-level athletes, or are you working more with, people who have been in accidents, or just general people who need better wellness? Refine that audience, because once you do that, you can actually create a messaging, a strategy that's going to really resonate with them more. If we're too broad, too general, it's just going to come off as like the old classic billboard or something like that. And on social media, those do not do well. So how do you refine that audience properly? Really simple. It's not enough to think you have to know who it is. You have to kind of guess and check in some respects if you don't have analytics or if you don't have a lot of numbers and background. Start with one, and whatever your gut instinct tells you, start there. If you think that you're going to work better with a certain demographic of people or a different audience, start there and test it out. Make sure that you know what interests them. Think about them. What are their interests? What do they spend time doing? What do they find valuable? What are some influencers that they follow and engage with? How can you help them? And how can they help you? And then create a message around that. And remember to tell a story when you're creating content. Tell a story about how you can solve their pain points, how you can solve their problems, answer the questions that they might not even realize they have yet. Okay, and then share, put yourself out there. One good example of and why I have this kind of big, bold, know thy audience is because I've worked with people in the past who think that they know, but it's just based on a bunch of false assumptions, and they've been successful enough over the years where they're like, yeah, this is our audience. Quick example was a moving company that had probably 20 trucks on the road. They're doing great business, but he told me that his audience was 45 to 65-year-old guys. Really, those were the people making the decisions on that, and that's who his messaging strategy was based around. His entire brand was very masculine heavy. And I said, okay, well, how do you know that? He goes, well, that's who I get along with the best. That's who the people I talk to. And I was like, no kidding, What are you, a 45 to 50? Yeah. So he assumed that basically that was his target audience. When we looked at the numbers on his website, when we looked at the numbers on his social media, when we actually asked the receptionist who was taking intake calls, everything pointed to females from, I think it was 35 to 45. So he was totally off. All the insight, his website traffic, I think was 70% female, somewhere over that. So that's just how you have to make sure you know who your audience is, because that affects everything moving forward. Your branding, your elements of your graphics, and the way that you talk. So that's kind of an example of why you gotta know your audience. So the marketing recap, make sure you know who your audience is, understand their needs and how you can provide them value. It's about the consumer, not about you, and create content to match those needs, those pain points, those things that they are genuinely interested in. And then down here I have last step, exchange value for attention. That's what we're doing when we post. Every time that we're putting a post out on social media, we're exchanging value for attention. And if we're not getting a lot of attention, it's because we probably didn't provide enough value. And if you think that you did provide a lot of value, keep doing it for a year and see what happens. Because it has to be over time, long term. There are no overnight successes on social media at all. You can put out a Super Bowl ad tomorrow, but if you haven't been backing it up with years of good content and growing a followership, no one's gonna see the video and no one's really gonna engage with it. So we have to be consistent long-term. It's the hard truth of it. So that's kind of the marketing side of things. And I'm gonna send all these slides afterwards to you guys. But really the best exercise, this is what we do with all of our new clients when we onboard them. We come up with a persona sheet. There's a lot of different names for it, but at the end of the day, I try to break it down into a quick one-pager because I think that's simple, that's easy, that works for me. Figure out who your persona is, what's their name, get specific, like Molly or is it Dave, okay? How old are they? What's their title and position? What company do they work at? Where are they geographically? What interests, values, goals, and what they're worried about. Then what we can do is outline their major pain points. I say start with 3. What are their 3 big pain points, right? And then come up with 3 ways of solving each one of those pain points. So we have 9 solutions overall, okay? And then, as you can imagine, we take those 9 solutions, those 9 things that we can provide value, and turn them into a blog or a video or an article or a graphic, or maybe just sharing someone else's content. And then if you multiply that 3 times, 9 to 27, you got like a quarter's worth of content right there, okay? So that's kind of the formula for developing, if you've heard of a content calendar, it's really coming up with ideas and posting content ideas. So that's one thing that you guys can use. I encourage everyone to fill it out, and you can recycle this. So do it for persona number 1, 2, 3, as many as you have. And basically spending an hour ahead of time, if you spend an hour to do this before you started creating content, I guarantee you're gonna spend less time thinking about what to post. It's gonna be more effective, and you're not gonna be pulling out your hair because you have a goal, you have a direction. So next, organic versus paid. Organic versus inorganic. The difference, it relies on your followers sharing it and the algorithm of it recommending it to other people. Okay, that's really straightforward what it is. It's that, post. When you have your business page and you post on it, that's your organic content. Some people's engagement is better than others based on how large their following is and how good of a job that they do getting engagement with other people, okay? Inorganic or paid involves some sort of paid promotion. Are you guys aware of like promoted posts or sponsored posts, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, pay-per-click ads? Those are great because you need both. You need a strong foundation of organic to be successful long-term, but to get you off the starting blocks, a lot of time you do need paid advertising to grow that following, unless you have a the one exception would be something like a restaurant, cafe, a lot of times, or e-commerce site, people that are doing huge numbers because they just have so many people coming into them that they can just grow naturally. For someone like us, a social media marketing agency, we work with maybe 25 to 50 clients a year. So if 100% of our clients liked us on Facebook, we'd have 50 new a year. So it's really hard to grow organically that way. Does that make sense? So you need that kind of kick in the butt, especially if you are investing upfront and putting out good content. We need to get that out to more people that are interested in this type of content that will follow. Basically, you can break it down. Organic grows naturally through user engagement, through your current followers. And then inorganic relies on paid promotion for visibility, amplifying the signal, so to speak. The biggest thing that I hear is like post anxiety, okay, today I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna start posting something, and then you have an hour blocked, and then 25 minutes in, you're scrolling through the feed yourself because they got you. The reason I've found that happens is because people are overwhelmed, because it's like a big menu at a restaurant. There's too many choices. People do not want that many choices. They don't want too few, but they don't want too many. They want something just right, Goldilocks. So that's what I'm trying to do here. If we have that persona sheet built out, we already know what value we're gonna provide, right? Now it's just a matter of figuring out what's it gonna look like and how we're going to convey that message. Because all we're doing through posting is we're taking the marketing message, we're bottling it up in some sort of media or promotion, and we're getting it out there to people. And if you kind of, in your mind, think, there's only 4 ways that you can post. That's it. There's only 4 things that you can do, like technically on a social media platform. You can post a photo, a video, create some sort of graphic, or share something like a blog or an article. That's it. So that should like kind of narrow it down in your mind. If you have the marketing down, then just pick one of these and then put it out there, okay? And there's really 2 other buckets. You can do something off the cuff, which we call documenting, just a little behind the scenes. Maybe I take a quick selfie and tag you guys in it. It takes 5 minutes, if that. It's typically a little bit lower on like information rich, like info and content and value, but it's quick, it's easy, and people engage with it. Stuff like this, we're recording this right now. This would be what I call creating instead of documenting, because this video is not gonna go out for a month and a half, but I'm gonna get probably 25 videos out of it. So that's kind of how we break that down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so narrow it down in your mind between those 4 things. And here's a quick example of successful organic content. And so when you talk about organic versus paid, organic is usually going to have less volume. You're not gonna reach as many people, but our hope is if we did all the steps right, outlining the North Star, finding the right audience, providing the right value, the quality of those followers is going to be better than just running a paid ad out to thousands of people. You're gonna hit more people, it's a wider net, but it's not as refined, it's not as sharp. Sledgehammer versus razor blade, so to speak, okay? This is an example of a organic only recruitment content playlist we put together for a local real estate agency. Basically, they wanted to give away as much content for free as possible because they wanted to recruit new agents, new team leaders, and potentially even absorb other small, like kind of floundering brokerages. So what they did, the one thing that set them apart was they had tools, systems. It was like a franchise. They had all the education, all the systems, the lead generation tools, basically making it like business a lot easier for themselves. So what they did is they put it into a private playlist, okay? They copied the link, and they shared it with a set of maybe 1,000 or 2,000 emails locally to all people that fell within their target audience. And all of these videos, as you can see, if you squint, under 200 views on all of these, but this converted into, I think, 4 new agents into the brokerage and like $100 million worth of business. So even though these videos didn't do very well from a viewership standpoint, they were the right message to the right audience and they converted. So this is a good example of organic content working. And then later on in this, I have some examples of paid ads, okay, or inorganic content working. Just a few resources, Google it. If you ever are having a problem with whether it's like, how the hell do I reset my password, or how do I make the post go to Facebook and Instagram, there is a video on YouTube for it, or Google. I recommend searching by date because these things change so often. So search something on YouTube and then filter by within the past 6 months. And that's a good way to get the best, most relevant info. Some quick tips, editor apps, content apps that you can use. Pretty much, we're all very, very lucky that we don't need a production company for all video. You can just grab a camera like this, and the quality of video that this camera can take compared to what was available like commercially 30 years ago or 25 years ago, whatever, is like crazy. So you can do some really good stuff just on your cell phone. So this is no longer a barrier to entry. And some quick just iPhone tips, clean your camera lens. That is the biggest issue. If you ever see those smoky videos or like kind of hazy, foggy videos, maybe there's like, with your t-shirt or whatever it is, just clean it off. Yep, that is the best way to take your video from like 720 to HD or 4K. And then also on Amazon now, they have $20 lav mics that work great. Tripod for $25. You have your at-home studio set up. So I really strongly recommend that. And then another one is lighting. Make sure the light is in front of you. Notice we have these shades down. If these were up, you wouldn't be able to see me. I'd come out very, very dark. So you always want the lighting in front of you. Keep the background not too bright. If you're ever looking for free music for backgrounds, YouTube actually has a free content library, massive. If you just type in YouTube free music, you can download all that if you are into editing, that sort of thing. And then lastly, content calendar. When you are planning out your content, where do I put it? A lot of people formerly would use something like this, content calendar in a spreadsheet. Some people love that. I despise the Excel spreadsheet, but there are free templates. If you want one, let me know, I'll give you one. But now, Facebook, if you have a business page, they have an entire, they spend billions of dollars investing in what's called like Meta Business Planner. Now it's Meta Business Suite. Use that. You can actually schedule out like up to a month, I think. And I think they're probably gonna be going to like a quarter worth of content. So if you just plan out all the content and then spend a couple hours scheduling things out, you can schedule what platform it goes to and what time, right on Meta or Facebook. Next, we'll get into paid or inorganic, okay? There are 4 types of paid or inorganic ads that really control the internet right now. So we have social media ads, okay? And when I talk about social media ads, I mean Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter or X, Even, YouTube is kind of a middle gray area here because they are owned by Google. Paid promotions, which is like something along the lines of sponsored articles, editorials, things like that. It's almost like that earned media, but you're paying for it. The 5 best restaurants in Newport County. All 5 paid for that. Okay, that's how that goes. Co-branded video content with a paid sponsor, something like that. If you ever see paid promotions and there's Rob Gronkowski spiking a seltzer can, it's because it's a paid promotion. And then you have Google pay-per-click. You guys familiar with pay-per-click ads? That's something, basically if you type in oil change near me on Google or on your phone or restaurant near me and you see all those things pop up, if it says sponsored, that means they paid for it. And if you click on it, you're paying per click. The difference between Google and social media ads, Google, you're paying per click. So every time someone clicks or you get results, that's what you're paying for. So if you put in $500, it's going to run until you spend $500. Social media, if you put in $500, 99% of the time, it's gonna spend all $500 at the desired time because it's going to push that content out to anyone that fulfills certain parameters, location, age, demographic, okay? Does that make sense? Basically, one is just a sounding horn, like kind of amplifying the signal. The other one is waiting for people who match a certain search parameter, and if they click, you pay. And then finally are kind of the old dog display ads. That's if you've ever been onto a website, or if you remember old school Facebook, on the right-hand side, there were a lot of display ads. That's kind of something that usually goes along with your pay-per-click ads or something like that to kind of make sure we're hitting people over and over, and they might not know where they've seen your logo or your branding from, but it's kind of in the back of their head, okay? Funny note about display ads, they did it, this was back when Facebook had display on the right, and they did a study, and the right side of Facebook's screen, like if you had Facebook open on a screen, the right side was literally invisible to people. Couldn't see it. So they would do a test, have people scroll through Facebook and then put something in there, and it's like, hey, did you see like a monkey juggling? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? It was right there the whole time. So that's what happens. These can tend to be a tune out, and it goes back to providing value. We want to make sure we're actually providing someone value, because an ad doesn't just have to be like spam or these people are not a captive audience. They are able to just scroll right by. So a good paid ad also provides value, just like organic daily content. Does that make sense? A little bit of a side note, but very important. So as far as best practices go, same exact thing as organic, right? Make sure you're targeting the right audience. Make sure when you are if you do have a call to action, it's clear and concise, and always test. Always see what's working. We can run multiple paid ads at the same time. Let's say you're running a Facebook ad and it's doing well. Keep running it, but test out something different. The way that we can do that is really like 3 ways. You can test out the copy. So like, what's the written word? Like, can we put in some more emojis or less emojis? Can we make it shorter, longer? Big words, small words. Test out the caption, and then test out the creative. So if you have for a gym, a lot of times they'll do this. They'll do a blue ad with a woman, or a blue ad with a man, and then a pink ad with a woman. And they'll run that at, females, males, and see which one does better. Then they'll change the color. Change it one thing at a time. Tinker on the margins when you're doing A/B testing to see what works and see what doesn't. So this is a little bit in the weeds for, I think, this group, but because a lot of times on personal brands, you don't run a ton of paid ads, but it's good to know because it can really help. As I mentioned before, there is a little bit of gray area between where they kind of intersect and overlap, inorganic versus organic. But for the most part, I think we kind of have it clearly outlined. Okay. Now, as far as social media advertising goes, I just wanted to kind of go over a case study and then we'll wrap up. So we were doing a real estate agency. They wanted to basically get more people into their database, because that is how they get new clients. That's how they get new business, because everyone who's buying a home is either going to sell it at one point or buy a new home, move up, move down. So what they did was basically a Bruins ticket giveaway. The cost of the ticket was about $1,500. Their timeline was 30 days, and the end result was 182 people entered for the giveaway. They got 151 new solid database leads with good contact info, email, phone number, and then it actually turned into 38 prospective buyers and sellers. So this is a big success story. Okay, so that's kind of the whole picture, and we kind of broke it down step by step. First was the hook or the promotion. We wanted to make sure, is the value worth the ask? So basically what that means is, if I ask you for your personal information, you gotta give me something good, right? If I'm going to go through and fill out this form, take the time to do it, give you my phone number, which might lead to a spam call or whatever, is it worth it? And are people going to kind of take part in this promotion? And the only way to know that is by trying it. You have to test it out. If you don't get enough people submitting leads, you're either reaching the wrong audience or that ticket better be front row, right? So basically we offer the best seats for a very exclusive, highly anticipated game. And basically wanted to make sure it was something that they wouldn't necessarily splurge on or buy themselves. So basically, rule of thumb, $800 to $1,000. Don't be scared to go higher, but if you're gonna do a giveaway, really try to make it a giveaway. I've had clients try to do a giveaway in the past and it's like $10 Dunkin' gift card. It's like, that's a great giveaway, but the value, you can't ask much. People aren't gonna really move for that. So really bump it up there. So the first step was collecting entries. All we needed to do was create a free jot form. You can also use Google Forms, that's free online. And what we did was we actually made it brand agnostic, which just means we didn't want it to look like an ad, right? Because people can know when it's an ad. So we just didn't have any branding, no custom branding or even logo on there, because at the end of the day, this wasn't a function of brand awareness. We didn't care about that. What we wanted was submissions. So keep the branding off it, very simple branding. We don't want it to look like an ad. And then be super specific and right to the point, okay? Finally, make sure your ask only collect the information that's absolutely needed. You don't need to know why they were interested in the promotion. Are you a Bruins fan? Do you buy or sell? Don't need that right now. We just need to make it like a razor blade, like we talked about before, just very specific, okay? So we made sure that the entries all fit a certain parameter, kept it simple, very easy to fill out. Again, brand agnostic, and really the next step was collecting those entries, and if it's working well, put more money into it. If it's not working well, change something up or call it, okay? So that's really the two options. And then from there, what we need to make sure is that we follow up. If you have 200 leads, make sure you follow up on those 200 leads. Whether it's an email, I suggest calling 200 people. Send an email, and if there's no response in a day, follow up with a call, because you just invested $1,500 in this. Take the time to make sure you're following up, because you don't know. A lot of times I'll hear clients say well, they're not 401 numbers or they're not 508 numbers. It's like, but follow up, see what happened, because then you can actually use that information to refine your campaign. Maybe you're hitting a lot of the wrong zip codes and you didn't even realize. Now you can go back and refine your paid ad campaign because you were targeting the wrong audience. Does that make sense? So make sure you follow up. Finally, so this just kind of execution. This ended up, that average came out to $17 a day for 25 days. That's how much we paid Facebook and Instagram to get it out there. Don't limit your audience too much when you're doing something like this. If you have a considerable ad spend, be okay with opening it up a little bit. And then finally, use organic to support. So these don't have to be run in like a silo. You can, what we did was we ran the campaign, but then also to our current organic followers, we were posting once a week on the story and on the feed to do this. And the last thing is, don't just limit yourself to paid. The only reason that we did this was because we ran it for free at a low, so we basically gave something less valuable away first, and we just did it to our audience of organic followers, and it crushed. It did very well, and we're like, oh Jesus, we should do this giveaway thing again. So that's testing. If you have an audience of 1,000 people on Facebook, there's no reason why you can't just run a promotion. Maybe you take a little bit more time. You take 2 months to gather entries and you do some emails, but see if that works with your organic following first. All right, and so just a few last slides. These are some examples. We kept all of the branding purposely very simple because we didn't want it to look overly produced. And that's really pretty much it. This is the stuff that we put out onto the page. This is stuff that we put out on the stories. So really simple stuff that pretty much you can do just by using like Canva. If you need one last tip, if you're looking to do graphic design, Canva is the best tool out there. They have templates, so strongly recommend that. Any other questions? That's pretty much it for me. So thank you guys for your time.